Welcome, everyone. Odette, I see, checking into the building from Belgium. We're so happy to have you here tonight and to see you, some new faces, familiar faces. And tonight we're talking all about modern love, relationship styles, structures, everything from communication, emotional labor, monogamy, non-monogamy, and how people are navigating intimacy and dating in real time tonight. So, as you know, you can ask us anything. No question is too much. We have the questions you've submitted in advance. We are going to discuss those in the order in which they were submitted. So if you submitted a question today, it will be towards the end of the conversation. But we're so happy to have you. And, Wayne was just sharing a story with us really, briefly about how he ran into someone that was sharing how much of an impact this space has had. So I know it's had an impact on us, and we're just so happy to create this space monthly and, create this sense of community with you all. So thanks for being here tonight. For those I haven't met yet, my name is Jamie Azar. I'm a certified relationship and intimacy coach and sexologist and founder of Erotic Expressions. And I work with individuals and couples to dismantle shame and recenter pleasure beyond pressure and expectations to find more authenticity, permission, agency, and choice. And I do a lot more than that, but I don't want to take too much time away from our panelists tonight. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Lacey Bond, one of your favorite sexperts here tonight. And then we'll get into our questions after our panelists have introduced themselves. But feel free to shout out some of your favorite people in the chat here.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, hello, I'm Lacey Bond. I go by Intimacy Lacey on the internet. I am also a certified sex and intimacy coach, and I primarily work with purity culture survivors, particularly folks from high control religions, Christianity. I work with folks who are non-monogamous, folks who are dealing with second adolescence, folks who are just trying to learn and reconnect with their body after being uh, impacted by a high control purity culture, and I'm based in LA. Oh, I'm also a kink educator. I got to work on my elevator pitch.
No, you rocked it. Thanks, Lacey. We love having you. James, oh yeah, 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 got you, got you.
Okay, there I am. Sorry, Jamie.
No, that's my fault. That's my fault.
No worries. I'm James Mosley. I'm a non-monogamous, boy flex gender, bisexual black man, and I'm currently a grad student at Widener University, majoring in or getting my master's in human sexuality. And I mostly just focus on like cross-cultural sexuality and alternative kinship among cultures. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you back, James. Feel free to share your handle in the chat. If y'all aren't following James Mosley, do so on Instagram. His educational content is phenomenal. It's definitely not the sex education you received in school, so check it out. Thanks, James.
Okay, I'm next. Hi, my name is Dominique. I am what am I? Oh, Lacey, I feel like you, like, every time somebody asks me this, I'm like, I don't know anything about myself. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a certified sex therapist, an ASAC certified sex therapist. I'm in private practice. What else? I specialize in polyamory, queer relationships, really anything that's expansive. So expansive relationships, whether that is in a monogamous or a heterosexual or asexual dynamic. I'm happy to help people with that. So obviously, as a sex therapist, I'm also very much a trauma therapist. So I work with all kinds of sexual and identity related traumas. I am also, what else? I'm like, there's more. I know. I have to tell you guys this time because I forgot last time. I am an adjunct professor. I teach human sexuality. I also teach lesbian, gay, bisexual, and sexually expansive psychotherapy. And I am currently the co-president of Gay Lesta. If you have not heard of Gay Lesta, it is a queer LGBT plus friendly psychotherapy directory. So if you think like Psychology Today, but this is for queer folks and queer clinicians. So yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome.
I will say
Yeah.
more, I'm sure.
Thank you, Dominique. That's awesome. Feel free if you have a link to that. That'd be an awesome resource. That, if you're able to share that, thank you so much. And we're so happy to have you back. This is your second time on. People loved having you last time and hearing from you. So welcome back.
So I'll go next. My name is Jordan Costin. I am based in the greater Washington, D.C. area. I am a licensed psychotherapist. I work with the queer community the entire lifespan from as young as 6 to old as 63. I also work with couples in terms of traditional as well as non-traditional relationships, help couples with opening up their relationships to polyamory or just opening up from an intimate standpoint. I'm also the co-founder and co-podcaster of the Queer and Kiki Couch, where myself and one of my best friends and another therapist, we have conversations around human sexuality in a very positive and affirming manner. I'm also the founder of Safe Space Nova, a nonprofit, been around about 10 years now, provide positive programming for LGBTQ youth around the Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia area as well.
Follow the Queer and Kiki Couch if you haven't done so already, and we love to support that show, and you and Jerry as well, who comes on here often. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jordan.
Next, hi, I'm Sasha Thomas. I'm a polyamorous widow, mother, friend, lover, passionate partner, peer support practitioner. I have 20 plus years in non-monogamy, but I touched and fluttered through all of the whole umbrella of non-monogamy. If you look at the years that I've been in it, I pretty much am guiding those exploring their second adult life in relationships and specifically non-monogamy, um, particularly with those individuals, supporting them in their journey with sex, relationship, love, loss, and also just redefining, relationships on their own terms. And that's me. You can find me here. I'm usually on Real Talk when I can jump in. I love being here.
We love having you and always get like the most heartfelt and sincere and
Yeah.
compassionate advice from you. So thanks for being here.
Hey y'all. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay, okay. So I'm Leah Townsend. I'm creator of the Polynest. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And and also let's see, oh God. A certified polyamory life coach, relationship coach, intimacy coach, everything under the sun. I work with the gays, the dolls, the guys, the girls, everybody. Everybody's and it's been it's been a wild ride. A lot of people are lost when it comes to how to navigate polyamory. So I'm here to kind of help everybody with the reality of it. It's not how it's kind of put out there. So long story short, I'm the polyness. I've been doing this, the coaching and everything, 8 years, but I've been polyamorous for over 20 years. So I kind of know a little bit about it.
And we're gonna
And
get
sometimes my
into
dating,
get
yes, dating in polyamory too. That's a whole nother thing.
we're gonna get more into your real talk around polyamory too. We have some questions around that. Thanks, Leah. I love it.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Wayne Lassane. I'm a certified sex intimacy and relationship coach. Work at Los Angeles Sex Therapy. Also, I'm co-founder of Shades of Non-Monogamy. Been non-monogamous now for 20 plus years. My relationships 20 plus years. Let's see what else. I work with couples, singles, and the method I love to use for non-monogamous couples because it's so funny because people come to me and it's like, hey, do you work with non-monogamous? I mean, do you work with monogamous couples? Do you work with monogamous couples as well? I said, of course I do. And I use the non-monogamous framework on monogamous couples, and I really help them learn how to communicate to open up some spaces that probably been lying under the surface that really haven't been dealt with. So I help bring those things out so we can, just to deepen the connection. Because that's again, at the end of the day, all we want is deeper connections with the people we're in. So yeah.
Thanks, Wayne. We love you. You've been on like almost every real talk. So
I
house
love
panelist.
being here. Yes. Yeah, let's get it.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. Thumbs up, everyone. We're good. Ready to rock? Everyone introduce themselves and Leah, I think, will come back on. Perfect. All right, everyone, let's get into it. So the first question that someone would submitted, we're going to give them some heartfelt advice here. So they asked, if someone hurts you emotionally and ends the relationship, but you still have feelings, what can someone do to get over it? So, yeah, what's coming up for you folks?
Well, I can answer this one. I would say there's a saying that everybody loves to say is like to get over somebody, you have to get under somebody else. And so for me, it's not necessarily like in a physical sense. It's more so whether it's pouring back into you, whether it's finding a new hobby, whether it's telling your friends, all of those kinds of things. So it's not really about getting over anything, it's about learning to live without. And so once you kind of think, oh, I was a whole entire person before I even met this individual. My heart is hurting, that's fine, but I'm going to be okay. That's how you get over it because you pour back into you and everybody else that, supports you and everything. So that would be my suggestion.
I think that's really helpful, Leah. Thank you. James, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I'll just add, like, I totally agree with what Leah is saying. For me as well, I have to pour back into myself, find different hobbies, reconnect with old friends, or spend more time with family members, work out, those kind of things. But the stale part of my answer, I think, is for me, I need to be able to rationalize what happened for myself in order for my actions to follow. Like in this case, I assume that that person intentionally broke a boundary that you clearly stated to them. And usually in my mind, I can justify if this person clearly just desecrated a boundary that I laid out for them, then they aren't for me. And then that makes it a little bit easier for me to like start pouring back into myself. But I have to like justify it in my head, you know?
Yeah, I think both of those are important, right? Like the processing of the hurt, the processing of the trauma, the grief, the loss, and pouring back into self, establishing that secure sense of self, like Leah was saying. And both processes can coexist. Sasha, what would you add to that?
I think you touched on it already, just for a moment, Jamie, the grief of it all. So I'm a big, have a lot of experience in grief and a loss of a partner, whether it's just a bad breakup and you just weren't ready for it. You go through the same processes of grief, and they always say you're not getting over the grief. You're just kind of working through it. And it sometimes doesn't go away. That love was there. It was, it was yours to keep. And all of your experiences were yours. And so you're not really getting over things. You're just, moving through it. And I think just reminding yourself that that is a process of grief, of loss that you're going through. So some of the tools to work through that in grief is especially useful in some of those bad breakups.
Yeah, thanks, Sasha.
Yeah.
And adding that it is a process and we can't rush it, right? And it does take time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. Hopefully that was helpful for that person. Awesome. All right. If anything else coming up, feel free to share in the chat if you had any more questions. Otherwise, we're going to switch gears here to a new question that's actually about the love languages. So, have you heard about the love languages? Feel free to say yes or no in the chat if you're with us in the audience. What are your thoughts if you've heard about the love languages before? But this person's asking what our thoughts are on the love languages. They want to know, is this an outdated concept or does it still have weight? Lacey, what would you say to this?
So the love languages is a super pseudoscientific concept that can be useful for like kind of like shorthand for stuff, but it was invented by a Baptist minister with no formal psychological education based on his experiences as a pastor doing pastoral counseling to heterosexual Christian couples. So I think it's a trash book, personally. There's some authors who have written alternatives, I think, but I don't remember them off the top of my head. So that's my hot take: is it's a trash book.
What would you add to that, Dominique, or what perspective do you hold on it?
Okay, so I'm probably going to say that same thing, Lacey, about literally anything that we're talking about. All the books, anything that's coming from like who started it is garbage. We use it though a lot, and I think a lot of people understand the language of it really easily, but where they get stuck is thinking that the five love languages are all there are, right? And if you're not, you have to pick one, and that's what you have to get. And I tell everybody all the time, I do a lot of self-disclosure in practice because I'm like, I'm not suffering in the way that you think you have to suffer. And when it comes to love languages, I will very openly tell people I'm in all of them, guy and more. For me, talking shit with my partner, drinking margaritas is a love language. For me, having, going on taking my kid out of the house for me is a love language. Like doing all those kinds of things. And I will notice if any of them is missing. So I think a lot of people do kind of sell themselves short when they say, oh, well, this is just the way my partner does it, or this is just the thing that I want, rather than what makes me feel really loved and cared for and connected to this person. And I think if more people allow themselves to think in that kind of selfish way and love in that selfish way, then you can kind of do more, right? You can do the gifts and the quality time and the acts of service and all the things. And if something is missing, then we can say, hey, I noticed that we're not doing these things we usually do. How can I support you? How can I step up? It makes us want to continue that. So I think that there's a lot of trash around it. I think Ann Hodder, if anybody knows who Ann Hodder is, she has an updated version of the love languages, but I still always stand behind there are an infinite number of love languages. And if you can communicate, I like what's happening and I want more, then you have an opportunity for it to not feel critical or like a lack.
Or box ourselves into one language,
Yeah.
right? Allow ourselves to be multifaceted. And I'm glad you brought up, thanks, Dominique, for adding that resource from Ann Hoddership. I actually just sent a link to the chat for that because I was going to recommend it myself. So we're all on the same page here. Wayne, what would you add?
I'll just to add to what Dominic said, I love what you said because I think that I always say, like, I feel like 90% of the problems that exist within relationships is because we don't speak up for ourselves. So if we ask for what we want, you know, say what's coming up for us as far as feelings, you know, when something feels hard or something feels uncomfortable, and we just imagine we spoke up. Just think what that would do for us, right? So I think a lot of things that, you know, so when we talk about love language, okay, cool. It helps us with a little basic understanding of what we need, whatever. But imagine speaking those out loud. So yeah, just add to it. Like, yeah, the communicating part, the communication part.
Yeah, it looks like people are agreeing with that in the chat. Like it's a good place to start, right? The love languages can be a good place to start, can help with the direction, but sticking to those, just trying to choose one can be limiting. Great, great, loving it. All right, cool. Thanks, folks. We're gonna switch over to the next question. And this person is asking about jealousy. So this person's wondering, what are some common ways that jealousy presents itself in non-monogamous relationships? And how do you interact with it in a healthy way? James, what comes up for you around this? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll talk about one aspect, I think, which is my own experience. I think so. I usually have a three-step process for myself. I'll start off jealous, and then that'll transform into anxiousness and worry, and then I'll try to think about what I'm really worried about happening. And usually it's very irrational and very illogical. And then I think after that, it just turns to me getting horny. I think and thinking about my partner being hot and hopefully they send me videos after. But this only happens, I think, if well, and it's okay if they don't send me videos. I should say that. But this only happens if I feel secure or loved, I think, by my partner. So I haven't
Yeah.
had experience with the other side of that though.
Mhm. No, thanks for sharing. So it's kind of like a spectrum and a journey, like from jealousy to anger to turn on, almost like compersion. Yeah, cool. Jordan, what's coming up for you?
Uh, so when we're talking about jealousy, it's generally attributed to being this adverse or negative emotion within the confines of a relationship. And it doesn't have to be. It's an emotion just like any other. So it's all about the power that you're giving it. And you tend to give it power because it's something that you're harboring and you're not having an open dialogue about with your partner. So embrace that, or as long as you're self-aware to know that's what you're experiencing, then the next step is to say, okay, with yourself and self-reflection, what is it that's causing me to feel this? And maybe there's something going on that I need to have a discussion about with my partner. There are many, many healthy conversations that can be had around jealousy in terms of processing that with your partner. Of course, you can do that on your own as well, but that gets you to a better place. But I just cannot express enough that it's something that people tend to harbor on their own and feel it's just this adverse emotion. It's like, no, have an open dialogue about that with the people that you need to in terms of your support system, if not also your partner.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. Like, there's no, we don't have to vilify the jealousy or, and the shame can come up around it. But what I'm hearing from you is it can also be really helpful data, right, for us. And it can be a place for communication and healing with our partner and more self-awareness can emerge from that. Dominique, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add from a kind of more clinical, or at least what I see in my like clinical practice is behaviorally what jealousy shows up like. So I think a lot of us know like, okay, when it comes in, this is what we do, but we don't always recognize it as jealousy right away, especially within polyamory. I think it's been an emotion that we've been so conditioned to feel we're not allowed to experience. So we will communicate jealousy, but we'll say, oh, I just don't like this person, or I don't like the way they talk to you, or if you would just call me at 9 p.m., I would feel safe. We put all of these rules in place that we think is going to help us feel better. And we know that it starts to be jealousy and not just, maybe security seeking or reassurance seeking when it doesn't really matter what happens at the end of that. I'll say, call me at 9 and they call at 9 and I still don't feel better. I'll say, don't go out during this time, they don't, and it still doesn't feel better. And that's when we need to do some self-reflection and say, okay, my partner is trying really hard to meet me in these boundaries. They're trying really hard to stick to all of the agreements, and it still isn't changing how I'm feeling. Then we have to kind of recognize and sit with, hey, I don't have to have shame for feeling jealous, but I have to name that's what's happening here. I can't make a rule that's going to prevent me from feeling jealous. So kind of check that in ourselves when we catch ourselves making agreements, right?
Yeah, and I think that's helpful. Like, is this a sign where I might need more reassurance from my partner, right? Or is this some like in more internal work that like I have to work on myself individually? Yeah. Sasha, what's coming up for you? And then Wayne.
I think one thing that I talk about a lot is community, especially in the, non-monogamy, circle. A lot of times, like Jordan was saying, it's jealousy is kind of vilified and we just keep it to ourselves. We don't express that we're jealous to our loved ones or to friends. But in the non-monogamous community, it's an easier conversation to have. And so having that community around you to be able to not ready to express it or don't really understand what it's all about to really talk to your partner about it, to have that community is great to kind of just vent it out and figure it out, and hopefully you have a great support system in a non-monogamy. But I find that in our community it's much easier to kind of talk it out with people and not feel like you're wrong for feeling jealous. So and that goes with the monogamous culture as well, as we if we can find those support systems in our relationships and understand that jealousy is not something negative or wrong. We can try to work it out in those ways too. But I know Wayne is gonna co-sign with the
Yeah.
community part.
Yeah. Well, Wayne, if you could like kind of maybe touch on specifically like in non-monogamous relationships or like jealousy can present itself. Like, might it present itself in terms of like, attention or feeling special or like time discrepancies or like can you kind of add on to what Sasha said or what's coming up for you?
Well, first of all, Jordan went before me. He said everything I wanted to say, so I could just add on to what he said. But I
Jordan.
know, again, jealousy is a natural emotion, right? Like it's like give yourself permission to be jealous. And you can be jealous. It's okay. Jealousy is okay to be jealous. And a lot of times what I do for myself is, yeah, because a lot of times, like for instance, in non-monogamy, yeah, time, shared time, uh, uh, what is it like activities, and just interactions and things of that nature, right? So for me, a lot of times what I do is I check in with myself to be more specifics, like am I feeling good about myself, like as far as my body goes, like am I feeling like I look good, right? Because if I'm not feeling like I look good, if I don't feel like I'm financially in a great place, if I feel like I'm struggling with something, it could show up as jealousy because there's something I need, and so now I'm asking my partner for something because I am feeling I am lacking, right? And so now I'm expecting them to show up for me when they may have plans for other things already. So now, again, just I love what Jordan said. Just again, checking in with yourself, being self-aware where you are, what's coming up for you, and I think that can be so helpful in dealing with some of the jealousy. So yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like Annie Undone, if you got y'all follow her, she had a cool post the other day that separated between jealousy and envy. And like she had said, jealousy is a fear that the external source or third party is going to take something away from you. Whereas envy, which kind of may feel similar, is wishing you had something that someone else had. Yeah, so like thinking about, and some of us have said, like, what is the need or request behind these feelings, right? Or like, what might we need in terms of reassurance and connection? If it's envy, maybe we might need a special moment or date or experience with our partner, right? If they've been seeing someone else. Leah, what would you add to this to kind of wrap us up on this question?
I love this question. It's one of my favorites. A lot of
Good.
people struggle with jealousy. And what happens is we keep operating from a place of scarcity. We're supposed to be operating from a place of abundance. So when you come from that perspective, it's like, oh, I hope they have fun. I hope they go do this. Like, oh, maybe one day we'll go do that. Like, you're not like, I didn't get to go to Disneyland. I don't know why he didn't ask me. Like, girl, come down. Like, it's okay. There's plenty of other times, there's plenty of other moments. And also with jealousy, it's a chance to self-reflect. So for me, say if I feel jealous in any way, I think I'm just kind of like, come on now, ain't nobody else like you, girl, baby, honey. Let's go ahead and face the truth. Okay. So I don't really care what my partners are doing, well, whatever I'm just like, have fun, like, because I'm so secure in self. I think it really boils down to how secure are you in yourself. I am unique. There is not one person on this entire planet that is me. So that is what you hold on to. It don't matter. All that don't matter. It's all noise. Cut it out. You
Yeah.
are it. Like once you're like, oh, I am the birthday, you're good.
Yeah. And that's the real talk from Leah, but like, and it's a practice, right?
Yeah.
What you're sharing is like, it's a practice and it's a journey. And I think what you're kind of sharing is like, well, for me, like, I kind of want to reach towards, right? Like tapping into that abundance, like being able to experience like, compersion and happiness for my partner and their experiences outside of me, right? And even what you had shared about like positive self-talk and like really tapping into building that secure sense of self. And I think that's the goal, right? For some people to kind of get there, and it's a practice. I love it. Cool. All right, let's transition. So the next person is wondering about separation after a long-term marriage. So, how would we support this person? Like, where do they go after a long-term marriage? Lacey, what would you say to this person?
I think I'm seeing a theme emerge of self and community, because like when you separate from a long-term marriage, so much of your identity, especially if you're monogamous, I don't know what it's like if you've been in a long-term marriage that has like also been polyamorous for a long time, um, but refinding your identity and finding your place of just you in your community. So like going out with friends, going out to see shows, going out as just you rather than like half of a unit. Because even if you're not like with your ex-spouse, like you still have this mindset of being a unit, and reintegrating and getting your roots back down into the things that grew you into you, um, is very helpful.
Mhm. Yeah,
And we can
thanks,
only do
Lacey.
that in community.
Yeah, and thanks for echoing those themes like that we've been talking about, making them a little more explicit. Yeah, I love that. Jordan, what's coming up for you around this?
I'm extremely familiar with this topic because after 18 years of being in a monogamous relationship, I separated from my long-term partner. And that is something that's extremely difficult. However, when I was in that relationship, and something that I'm very huge on promoting is very simply this. When you're with somebody, they're a huge part of your world. They should not be your world. Because if ever they exit your world, then what is there left? So, one of the best approaches is to say, who am I or who have I always been or who I am now? A couple of different questions. But for me, I kind of always had this foundational knowledge of who I was and maintaining that even throughout a very long relationship. That was all of my adulthood years, my 20s, as well as my 30s. And stepping out on the other side, is it scary? Is it intimidating? Absolutely, 1,000%. But what I held tight to was I know who I am. I know what I like to do. I know what fulfills me. And if nothing else, I'm going to take a nosedive into that. That was the most important thing. So, to Lacey's point, that it can be community, that can be your hobbies, that can be the type of work that you do. For me, it ran the gambit of all of that. And so that really kind of helped me in terms of stabilizing going through something that was pretty tumultuous, of course, in the beginning phases. But again, I never lost sight of who I was, even though I was in a very long relationship. And I think that's something I always want to make sure I promote that because people tend to lose themselves in relationship. In order for two autonomous beings to come together, we must fuse in a sense and be enmeshed. And that's not necessarily healthy because we can never predict the future.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. And thanks for sharing your story. And absolutely we can lose ourselves, right? When we become enmeshed in our relationship. And even for those folks who may not know who they are anymore, I feel inspired by your response. Like, take the leap. Like, you can rediscover or recreate who you are now beyond that relationship, or return to who you once were. Sasha, what would you add to this?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan, he pretty much said it all, of course. But one thing that I want to say is the after the fact. And a lot of people, just being in non-monogamy, people that are monogamous have been in long-term relationships. They like to kind of come on over under that umbrella and start to explore themselves in that way. And I find a lot of people exploring in non-monogamy after a very long-term relationship, partnership. And I say after the fact, as you're going through or you've been through it, I'm encouraging everyone to seek out these types of groups, because this is where you can get really great guidance and exploring those things if that's something that you want to do and try out. I'm encouraging people to do that instead of just going out on their own and jumping into whatever scene they can
Yeah.
find. I encourage everybody to, talk with people that have experience in non-monogamy, have been in it, for a while, and get a lot of your guidance from that instead of on winging it because it's a very new situation. I mean, I'm coaching people that have, been married for 20, 30 years and then go through a divorce, and they jump into non-monogamy because they feel like, one, it might save their relationship, or two, it's just like, well, I endured all of this betrayal and I might as well try to do it over here where it's accepted somewhat, or what they think is accepting. And it doesn't always turn out, the
Yeah.
best for them without the guidance. So that's
Yeah.
my two
And
cents.
I think that's a great transition into our next question. You mentioned betrayal, and we actually have someone asking for some tips on how to open up after there's been a betrayal or a violation in the relationship. So there's a second part to that question, but I kind of just want to focus on that first part as it's connecting to what we're talking about now. So, you know, any advice, like if there has been a betrayal or violation in a relationship, like can you repair that rupture? Can you restore trust after a betrayal? I mean, how does that happen? What does that look like? Anything come up for you folks around that?
I think we're all having a lot of things come up around that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything preliminarily? Like for you, Dominique, like, you just unmuted. I'm curious, like anything just coming up in the moment.
Sure. I mean, I am a big fan of people exploring whatever is going to help them to feel most aligned in their relationship. And I will often tell people that if you are struggling to be faithful in a monogamous relationship, you are also going to struggle to stick to agreements in a non-monogamous one, because now you're just going to have more people that have the possibility to be mad at you. So, I think that that really may be an orientation that people hold and things that they want and need to explore. But if we are operating from a shame-based place, or we're operating from a place of like, I don't want to get in trouble with my partner, that's not going to change just because you have the opportunity to have more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a couple hands. Wayne and then Leah, what's coming up for you?
No, I was just gonna say, like, because you asked a question, like, about
Yeah.
repair, and I was gonna say, like,
Right.
you have to figure out, even, do you even want to repair? Is this something that you want to fix? Like, I think you should have that time. You should be able to take that time for yourself to even think about and process what happened and see if this is even what you want anymore. Because,
Mm,
there is going to be a shift in a relationship if you do decide to move forward. And then now, what also adds to that is that, can your partner deal with the new version of you in this new shifted relationship? Right? Do they want to be with you after you've now changed and shifted? So there's many moving parts within the idea of repair after a betrayal. So, it's just like, and this is just a short answer. Obviously, we can't, really go into it, but yeah, it's so many things that come along with betrayal. Like, there's multiple shifts that happen in a relationship, and we got to figure out if we can even want to deal with those shifts after they happen.
yeah, that's good, Wayne. Thank you. Yeah, Leah, what would you add? And then we got James and Jordan coming. I see. Yeah.
Okay, what I wanted to add when it comes to betrayal is it feels like a personal attack. And so if you're in a relationship of any sort, you kind of need to have some sort of armor for self. So it's always going to go back to self, because betrayal in a relationship most times is very hard to repair. That's the number one question. How do I trust? How do I trust after I've been betrayed? You actually don't. You're not building back trust. What you're building back is observation of your partner. What are they doing? How are they moving? Are they communicating? Do you feel like they're being honest? You have to ask yourself, like, do I want to really continue? If I do want to continue, let's have some new boundaries. Since you're a little freako, you need to let me know when you're going out, and then we need to be exchanging STD paperwork. We need to be on a whole nother level of communication. So if you want to try to build back trust, you're going to have to start somewhere. And I think it starts with that. Okay, if you're stepping out of the relationship, let's talk about, being open. If we're in a monogamous one, if we're already in a polyamorous relationship and we have betrayal going on there, we need to reset it back. You know what I mean? It's like we need to get the train back on the track. Like, are we going to communicate? Because if we're not going to communicate, like Chris
Yeah.
Brown says, it's gonna be a whole lot of deuces going on. Cause I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. This is
No.
one life. We have one life to live, y'all. One life. You don't get no redos. There's no more.
Yeah.
It's it. That's why
I
people.
hear
Oh
you.
my God, I get so mad because people get so caught up in he betrayed, he she cheated on me. Girl, you better build a bridge and get the fuck over it. You
Well,
know.
I hear you. I hear you. So what I'm hearing is like it is possible. Like it can take time to be rebuild trust, and it is possible, and repair is possible after rupture. And what I'm hearing from you is there needs to be consistency in action. There needs to be honesty. There needs to be transparency and like demonstration through behavior, through the person who has committed the betrayal. The person needs to have a willingness to trust again. And I think there's some other pieces that could be wrapped up in there that I would address, but I'm curious to hear from James and Jordan too. So James, like what would you add to what Leah's sharing or what comes up for you?
Yeah, and hopefully my connection is okay. Is my
Yeah, you're
connection
good.
okay?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that it's possible if you both are somewhat aligned and are hopping in the same car headed to the same destination or the same dream, right? Because I was on the offender end where I cheated on my partner in my very last monogamous relationship, and we were getting things together. We were going to couples therapy, doing all of the actions and taking the actions to repair. But at the end of the day, I kept waking up like, do I really want the white picket fence, nuclear family? White dog running around and a bunch of kids jumping on me and having pancakes on Sunday. There's nothing wrong with that, but she wanted that at the end of the day. And we were making great progress, but at the end of the day, we were not hopping in the same car and headed to the same destination. So I think that's like one aspect I would add.
Yeah, and like maybe it was through that work. It sounds like that you recognize, hey, there's a core difference in values
That's
here
true.
in what we want, right?
Through
But through
therapy.
that work, maybe something can like insight can come, right? Yeah, Jordan, what would you add?
Yeah, just to kind of put some imagery kind of around this in the terms of how I speak about it with couples. So when you're entering into a relationship, whether it's non-monogamous or it's monogamous, you're making an agreement. And when betrayal happens, infidelity, then the agreement's broken. So essentially what that means is the memories don't go away because we can't, just forget whatever happened in terms of good and positive as or negative in terms of the memories that have been accumulated. But it's essentially saying, okay, if you think about a house, whether it's the smallest tiny home or it's a large mansion, it will fail unless it's on a proper foundation. And in this situation, the foundation is now failed. So it becomes this question between both people. It's not one sided. It is, okay, now the foundation has failed. We've had to bulldoze the house and there's no foundation. We're starting from the ground up. And this is something that we're both willing to do. That's the honest work that couples have to do, which is the most difficult. It's sitting there and saying, despite because guess what, you will always have the memories, both good and bad, but you are always going to have those are not going anywhere. But it's a question of, okay, we're looking at this plot of land where there is no longer a house, there's no longer a foundation that's sitting on it, and do we want to start like pouring the cement? Because that takes a lot of heavy lifting, and depending on where you are in life, depending on what the betrayal that's happened, how you're processing it, you may not want to. But that's a question that's open for both sides of the relationship or multiple sides.
Yeah, the like key word for me and all of that was like willingness, right? And also like at the same time, the person who's been betrayed can't continue to punish the other person, and the person who committed the betrayal can't rush that other person's healing either. So I know that comes up for me with some of the folks I work with. I see some more hands. Sasha, maybe one more comment, then we're going to transition to the next question.
Yeah, just well, I think part of the question too was like, what do you do after the fact? So there's a lot of repair that could go on, but what about after the fact? And after when it's just you. And so my, you know, just experience of just now being just me, like the repair didn't happen or couldn't happen in whichever way. Now it's again going back to community, just getting out there and getting the support that you need to start your journey on your own. And that takes a lot of bravery because now all the people around you are used to this 20, 30-year relationship. Yeah, kids, adult kids. So now you have to figure out how to navigate that, but being very brave and speaking to the people around you about where you're at on this journey as an individual is a whole nother obstacle. But
Yeah.
like, we talked a lot about, just being secure in self. And so once you kind of get that down, you're able to kind of talk to people about who you are as an individual instead of that couple or that unit. And that helps a lot for people to support you in your own individual journey afterwards. So,
And you touched on courage and also the process of like moving from the enmeshment that might have happened in the relationship too. Good, good. All right, let's transition to the next question. Good, good going. I think that was helpful. Hopefully, if anyone else has any more questions, feel free to share in the chat. All right, I'm going to hop around here a little, folks. So the next question someone asked was, how does a disabled person go about seeking a relationship that involves intimacy? How does a disabled person go about seeking a relationship that involves intimacy? Yeah, Lacey, I see a
get
hand.
it, Lacey, get it.
Cracks my disabled knuckles. So as a disabled person, um, I'm very open about my disability. I have idiopathic, unknown cause, chronic hand and arm pain from the elbow down all the time, which impacts sexual activity. And I'm like pretty upfront about that. Um, and I use and like using and seek partners who like toys and who are of the service top persuasion, because for me, like doing any kind of hand stuff as a top or as a giver is kind of a no-go for me. It can flare me up. So I've got a pretty good idea. I've been disabled for 5 years now. I've got a pretty good idea of like how my body works, its needs, accessibility features for sex for me. Um, and I look for people who also have chronic pain or like are familiar, and are down to play with toys, who are like down to learn. I also spend a lot of time in the BDSM community where there's a lot of open communication about like all of this. So that's where my
Good.
perspective comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. So being honest about your access needs, that's really helpful. And being open to those mobility aids as needed, the open communication piece. James, yeah, what's coming up for you? Thanks.
I just wanted to plug a resource just in case because
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable talking about it from my positionality,
Yeah.
but if you want to check it out, there is a Spanish documentary called Yes We Fuck. It's from 2015 and it's on Tubi right now. It's not all about sex. There's a couple couples on there, I guess, that actually talk about how they met and how they interact. Yeah, I just think it'd be great. So
Yeah. Thanks for that resource drop. Awesome. Yeah. All right. If anyone else has questions, anything they want to share, feel free in the chat. But I think that's all really helpful. And I plan to check that out, to be honest. I'm always down to watch something new. And I think that would be really helpful. So thanks. Awesome. All right. So we've got some people curious about dating apps. And they're wondering, I don't know, like basically they're asking about the best modern apps for dating. Do you guys have any recommendations for them? Like the best apps or ones you'd recommend or any information you could provide them? Yeah, Wayne and then James.
So for me personally, I think all the dating apps are trash. I think that they've all become more about pick me and what do I look like, appealing off the top, and sex, and it's all about trying to get some sex at the end of the day. And so, it's literally you rolling the dice to see what you get on a dating app for the most part. I think that some people, that small percentage of people are successful. I choose the wild. You get to observe people in the wild. You get to see how they move, how they operate, how they interact with other people. So I know that it's hard to get out, but I'm saying, like, you get what you get on an app. You don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know, you get 20-year-old pictures. You get a bunch of not truths, half truths is what you get. So it's yeah,
You're
good luck
saying
with it.
ditch the apps. You're saying ditch the apps, get out in the wild. Like there's too
Yeah,
much catfishing. There's too
yeah,
much like,
yeah.
yeah, it's not worth your time, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But
James,
now if you're looking for
or,
sex though, apps are great.
oh,
If you're just looking for some sex, you're looking for a one night
okay.
stand and get you some, apps are great. Like,
Okay.
let's
If you're
face
looking for
it. Yeah.
sex, get on the apps. All right. What would others say about this? Yeah.
I'm okay, baby. I'm okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jordan, do you want to add to this still?
So,
Who's saying
just
Dominique
adding
said
to the
hellscape?
conversation here. So
Dominique said dating apps are hellscape.
there is a distinct difference. It can be really hard to discern between a dating app and a hookup app. So in the queer world, so more so gay male, so we have our jacks, we have our grinders, we have our scruff, we have our sniffies. Those are generally geared towards, hey, like people are showing their intimate pictures, people are saying what they like to do in a very intimate manner, essentially sexually what they want to do. They're not leading with this is what I like to do, the type of person that I am in terms of getting to know me or dating. There are some apps that is not to say that you cannot find people who are looking for hookups on them, but there are apps like a Facebook dating or a Hinge that tend to lean more towards dating in terms of what they're even asking from you from a profile standpoint, what they allow, what they don't allow. I will say you have to find what works for you and be true to yourself in terms of also what you are looking for. Intentionality is also very key. I tell people this all the time. Dating is an intentional act. It takes time, effort, and energy. So, what that means from an intentionality standpoint, I literally went through this with a client as of last night. He brought in his dating profile because he said he was
Yes.
dating, and I said, "Prove it. Bring in your dating profile." He brought in his dating profile, and I said, "What about this says anything that speaks to you as a person who is faith-based? You are looking for a family, that you are career-driven." I mean, not to say you had to use these specific terms, but there was nothing like that listed. So we sat there, and I kid you not, for the first section of our therapy session, we rewrote that with intentionality. I
Yep.
can say that I'm at least somewhat of a success story because I've met my current partner on a dating app, Facebook dating in particular. Not that I'm getting paid to advertise for them, but it also has to do with my intentionality. Now, the other thing is you have to hone your nose, right? So if you're somebody, you've been doing dating, you've been collecting data. So ultimately that means, I mean, for somebody like me, I can smell bullshit 15 miles ahead. Like I literally can smell it. You can try to dress it up as much as you want to, but I know what bullshit is. Hone your nose, believe in yourself and what you've done and the collection of data. But again, I'm going to always go back to also know the difference between hookups and dating apps and being intentional with your
Mhm.
approach.
Yeah. Yeah, the intentionality piece. And then I'm hearing there are different apps for different purposes. We have some questions in the chat. Like, are there any that are more poly based? It feels weird having to explain to someone that you're polyamorous on these regular sites. I think we saw Field was there. Plura is an events app that has a lot of events for meeting social settings. And other people are sharing, like you, Jordan. They've had some great relationships from apps. And even if it didn't work out, they became friends. Um, I did find one on the app Polly Black and dating app or some that other people are naming. And I've got a couple. I've just put together a list with links. Oh, I can't. Can I not copy and paste in the chat? If not, then I'll follow up with an email for y'all um, with this list. But oh, there we go. Perfect. Cool. So there you go. If you want, copy and paste it into a doc or something, or save it. But there's some lists, a different lists of dating sites and apps, and kind of the purpose and plug for each if you're interested in exploring. So hopefully that was helpful. But it sounds like we have diverse perspectives, right? And it really just comes down to kind of what you're looking for, what how you're portraying yourself, the intentionality you bring to that experience. Maybe you're sick of the apps, you want to get out into the wild, like Wayne's saying. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, I'm going to keep it moving here. Let's see where we're at on our questions. All right, I think we're going to go down to this one. This makes a good, I think, a good sense to jump here. We've got about 8 minutes. So Someone is asking, what would be the best way to approach a conversation on kinks? So, like, you're dating, you want to talk kink with someone. How do we approach that conversation? Yeah, Lacey, what would you say to this person?
Pick me. Um, it does really depend on the context. If you are in a BDSM or kink-based setting, that's gonna be part of the general atmosphere. If you are just getting to start to talk to someone, don't lead with kinks. That is actually true in BDSM settings as well. The etiquette is get to know the person and what they're like and what they are into in general. Otherwise, you're going to look like you're just trying to hook up or using the space as a meat market. I actually got a guy kicked out of an event for doing that once. Um, so that said, um, the question of there's like a couple of ways you can ask this question. And I got so excited I have to let my adrenaline catch up with me for a second. But like, what are your kinks? Or do you have any kinks? Or are you like familiar with like dominance and submission or like power exchange? Are all like kind of good entry level questions. And being able to name and claim what you yourself are into, like, oh, like I know I like being submissive in the bedroom but not necessarily outside of the bedroom. I like to be ordered around. I like to give, I like to receive, I have a thing for bondage or whatever. Starting like a little bit at a time is appropriate. I like to follow the, I'm not a sex therapist, but like the PLICIT model, which is permission to share. Uh, L is for limited information, LI. And then I forget what SIT is because IT is intensive therapy and I'm not a therapist. But that first half, especially because kink and BDSM are so heavily consent based, making sure that you guys are on the same page and they are okay to talk with you about that is really important. And then backing off if they're not. That's my quick hits.
That's great. No, that's all really helpful. Thanks for sharing that, Lacey. And I think it starts with, I love what you shared, get to know the person first, getting them permission to have that conversation. You also offered some really helpful sentence starters, like people could use to break open that conversation. Good. Awesome. All right. We do have maybe one or two questions we can get to today. And this person is interested. I know we've talked, they said, I'm interested in communication, intimacy, trust, and boundaries. We've talked a lot about some of those today. But more specifically, they're wondering how to navigate bisexuality within a long-term marriage. And so I'm assuming that this is like a mixed orientation relationship, where one person is heterosexual and the other person is like bisexual, for example. Yeah, Dominique, what comes up for you?
I feel like Lacey with the kink question with this one for me,
Yeah.
because I am well, at this point, I'm a pansexual person, but that's how I came to this work. I realized, gosh, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago, something like that, that I was a queer person and I was doing HR at the time. And that's how I realized, like, oh, I'm going to do a hard pivot. I'm going to make queerness and open relationships and all that kind of my life. And I have a cisgender, white, heterosexual, like, dude partner. And I knew even before then, even before I came out to myself, that this person was going to accept me no matter what, that I was going to be safe to explore these parts of myself. And that is something that I share with folks a lot, is that it can be really scary when you're in relationship or you've had this established way of existing in the world for so long, because there's this fear of, is this person still going to choose me? Am I still going to have my stability, my home, the life with my children, or whatever, all those boxes are that you check. But if you have somebody where you know they're going to accept any iteration of me and they're going to support any version, then I think it makes the polyamory conversations easy. It makes the jealousy conversations easy. It makes the queerness and the kink and the dungeons really easy, not in like it's easy to do kind of way, but I know that the outcome is going to be all right. So I think for bisexual people, it starts with choosing people that are going to support you, not just with your kinks and your orientations and your preferences, but do they support what you want to do for a career? Do they support your desire to change what you're interested in? Do they support your little hobbies and stuff? And that will give you information about what will they support and how do they handle expansiveness in general. So I don't want my person just to accept me. I want them to accept queer people. I want them to accept trans people. I want them to accept, marginalized people in general and recognize that outside of his relationship with me. So understanding whatever the gender of your relationship is, are they accepting? Are they tolerant? Are they supportive? Am I safe to be who I am is where it starts.
Yeah, and your relationship status or structure doesn't necessarily define your orientation. And thanks for sharing all that. I think that's really helpful. And I think for the person, I know we're kind of answering this question indirectly. They had asked, like, how do you deal with a partner who looks at the world half empty when you're looking at it half full? And I think maybe what Dominique had just shared, if you're in the room or in the audience, may be helpful in thinking about like finding someone that's safe and sharing those core values. And maybe when is there a pure separation where there's just a pure misalignment and it's taking away from your relationship satisfaction or your overall quality of life. So I think hopefully that was helpful for the person that asked that. We're answering a little more indirectly. Yeah, perfect. All right, folks. Well, we've got about 2 minutes. We had one quick question about HPV testing. And they're wondering if we could answer that maybe really quickly for this person. Why do medical facilities not test men for HPV? They said they do not keep tests for HPV for men, and this person feels like they should. Anyone have an answer really quickly for this person? Then we're going to wrap up.
I mean,
Leah, is that it?
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm like the STD like resource.
Mhm.
So for HPV, it is so common in men. It's contracted, like they can touch themselves with dirty hands, they have it. It's not even anything that's picked up. Then they give it to females. Then we get it, and then it go through this whole thing. And so because it's a man's world, and they're not really concerned because it's so common. And so I think I have an issue with MGen not being a part of the mycoplasma genitalium. I have an issue with that not being on the main panel because it's infecting people. It's antibiotic resistant. People can't get rid of it for years. Nobody's talking about it. And so the medical field, until like, I guess, hundreds of thousands, millions of people get it, then they start bringing it to the forefront. So it's just a lack of them giving it. I mean, giving a shit really. That's
Yeah.
what's really going
Yeah.
on. For men, like
And
for women, yeah, it's a whole
yeah, and
thing.
I heard from you, patriarchy was a part of
Yeah.
it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good. All right, folks. Well, I feel like we covered a lot tonight. Thank you to everyone that attended. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation tonight, that you will join us next month. As always, we meet on the third Tuesday of every month. It's always free, always live on Zoom. So we'll meet next month, Tuesday, August 18th, same time, same place. Our topic will be neurospicy sex. So we will be discussing the intersections of neurodivergence, sex, sexuality, intimacy, and dating. We'll have some of these panelists returning and also some of your favorite panelists returning as well that aren't on tonight, but are some of whom are in the chat. So thank you everyone for being here. Feel free to drop just maybe one word adjective that describes how you're feeling or something you learned tonight, something you enjoyed, anything that resonated with you. But as always, we love to see you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of our community. And we hope to see you next month. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for being here tonight.